Welcome, everybody. This is a very hot day, and I don't know if those who are going to be doing it afterwards are going to be doing it in the midst of the heat. But man, be careful what you wish for. We went from 3 or 4 seasons all in 1 month. I think pretty much all a feel of each of the seasons in 1 month, and now we're right here in the midst of a heat wave just for a few days, I think, and then it's supposed to cool down a little bit. So I wanted to do a restorative practice today anyway, but even more so because of the heat. Really great idea to do cooling practices where you're not doing a lot, you're not exerting a lot of effort. You know, I know it's tempting to get out and do things out in your garden. Do that early in the morning and then spend the afternoon in restorative poses, like what you're doing. So you're doing it. Yeah, so I'm going to teach you a cooling breath that we can do when you're overheating, and then we'll go into the practice. So I'm really going to ask you to ad-lib with what you've got, just for those who are joining afterwards. I've got 2 same-sized bath towels on the bottom, then a throw pillow, then 2 sleeping pillows, and then another pillow. And that can be set up at the end of your mat, waiting for you for the first restorative pose. So then come and stand. Very slow, easy movement. I'm just going to move mine a little bit just so I can stay centered in the mat for you. Set your feet pretty wide, almost as wide as your mat, with just a slight softness. In the past, I have suggested pretend you're wearing a ski boot and just lean into your shins as if your shins are leaning into a boot. So not to take your hips forward. So as your shins go forward, your hips kind of do this little bit of a softening backwards. So instead of this, we're doing a little bend and lean into the shins, hips go back. And then we've got a little bit of a sense of buoyancy. Then inhale and slowly take your arms out to the sides. You can bend them here if that feels better for your shoulders, and then lift up. Hands come towards each other at the top, and then we'll go back down. So I suggested that we do this with an inhale going up and an exhale coming down, but you can do whatever works for you today. Yesterday when I did my practice, I put music on for the first time in a long time. It's like, oh, that's what I'm missing in these classes, is not having music here. Oh, it's nice to have silent, but it's also nice to have music. And one more time. And then drop your right one down and continue up with your left hand. Right arm goes down, and then come back and meet in the middle, and then opposite. So we're doing real slow movement just to kind of start to move the fascia of the body a little bit. So we're preparing the body so that it can rest in poses, and we don't have these big sensations in the muscles or in the skin. A couple more times. The whole point of restorative practice is to serve the nervous system. We spend a lot of time doing and busy doing and thinking, even though it's like this is slow time, you know, we're still busy doing stuff. And as long as we're doing that, then we are in the sympathetic nervous system. Okay, one more time. Lift up. And then bring your arms down forward. I'll show you sideways, like I've got them resting on a table. If you need to drop your elbows a little bit lower than your shoulders because of shoulder issue, then go ahead and do that. And now turn towards the right and then back to the center. Imagine that you have this big table that's wrapping around you, and you're sliding your arms across the table to the side and to the center. We want to see if we can do this, not from the knees, not from the pelvis, but above. So from the waist up, we're turning. It's going to ask a little bit more of your oblique muscles, but I think that's a good thing. The turning muscles, the turning and the stabilizing muscles. So no sensation in your knees, No shifting of your weight in your feet. And relatively relaxed in your shoulders, especially across the top. Last one to this side. I'm going to change it. We'll go to the right. As you go to the right, start to open your arms out, stretching your fingertips away from each other. As you come back to the center, fingertips come towards each other. Turn to the left, reach out. Again, turning above your waist. Slow, controlled. Noticing what sides of the body feel different than the other side. In what movement. One more time on each side. And the other side. Just really movements through the spine. And then bring your arms down. Let's inhale again, lift up. Elbows can bend. Exhale, bend your knees, bend forward, moving your hips backwards like you're trying to pick something heavy up, and you've always been told to bend with your knees and lift, then come back up. Do that a couple more times. So this giant ball that you're holding, you're lifting it up. Yeah, and last one. Last one. Okay, and then bring your arms back down. So on the chair that doesn't have the support, take it and turn it. So if your mat's this way, you can put it right in front of you. Or sorry, if your mat is like this, you're going to turn your chair this way if you have the space. It doesn't really matter. I'm just doing it so you can keep your feet on the mat. I'm going to take one of my blankets and lay it over top here. I'm just going to show my chair from the side. You don't have to move. Then you take your feet wide. I'm going wider than my mat, so that kind of gives you an idea of the distance. And you can see where my height is here. When I take my feet out wider, I drop down. So I'm getting closer to the floor. We're going to go into our first standing pose, our only standing pose, but our first standing restorative pose. We hinge at the hips. You set up your feet so that your knees face forward, so forward over the center of the ankle towards the base of the second toe. You can absolutely bend your knees if that's necessary, and you bring your forehead to the back of the chair. You can rest your hands on the seat of the chair. If you have more flexibility in the back of the body, and you can stay long through the front of the body, you can come down onto the seat of the chair and rest your forehead. So I want you to see the front of my body is long and my upper back is not rounding up. If you're here, it kind of defeats the purpose. This is restorative. We don't want to be feeling a tug in the hamstrings. We don't want to be feeling a tug through the back line of the body. Yeah, standing forward bend. Restorative, wide-legged, standing forward bend. So your feet are as wide as what works for you. I like that, Susan. Susan's got her arms draped over the back. They can also come down onto the seat of the chair. They can hold onto the legs. This is one of those poses. It's restorative in nature because we're holding it. We're not asking a lot of the body. I would go higher for you, Christopher. I would go higher. Yeah, I would turn it around. It's not meant to be tugging at your hamstrings. Yeah. Yeah, either one. You can do it the other way and have your hands on the seat of the chair too, if that works. Yeah, I like that Jacqueline hand. She's got her hands behind your back. That's an option. And then we'll stay here just for a few more moments. I'm not going to tell you how long all of these poses are. But notice what you notice. There might be more of a sense of sensation, resistance. I use the word resistance more than I use the word stretch. I want you to tune into the idea that there are degrees of resistance. Very often we hear stretch, feel the stretch, and that means to a lot of us to go to where it's extreme. So go to where you feel the least amount of resistance. And with the back of the body, the sides of the body, and the front of the body free from anything, you're not resting on anything, allow your rib cage to expand in all directions with your breath. In all directions. Think of the whole circumference of your rib cage widening. So it might mean that you start to slow down your breath, extending them just a little bit longer, not just your inhales, but your exhales. Bend your knees if you need to. Long spine. It's not completely restorative because I'm asking you to do some effort to remain in a harmonic alignment. But what's the minimal amount of effort you can put into this pose? With restorative yoga, just like with any asana practice, there are going to be poses that you don't love. I'm going to encourage you not to stay in something that you don't feel great in. If this is not working for you, change something or come out of it. Take 5 more breaths. Without rushing them, just let them come and go like waves in the water. And if you feel like 6 breaths or more or less than 5, do what works for you, and when you're ready to come back out, support yourself as you lift back up. So most likely, bend knees a little bit, hands to the seat of the chair, and then slowly make your way up. You've been in almost an inversion, so you can always tuck your chin as you're coming up so that you don't feel lightheaded. Then take the chair that you were leaning against and let's sit on it for a moment. I'm going to sit with a little bit of lift because I know that's what works better for me, to have a lifted spine. Feet on the floor. You can always sit on the floor. That's always an option. Again, top of the pelvis tips forward from the back. I'll show you from the side. It tips forward right here. Then inward curve from the lumbar, outward curve through the upper back, the thoracic, inward curve from the neck. So just notice how you feel. We'll sit for a moment. You did a little bit of movement to move the fascia more than anything else to prepare the body for lying still. Sometimes we need a little bit of movement to get some of that energy out of the way. Then I'm going to teach you this. I'm coming closer so you can see. For those who are able to curl their tongue, you're going to curl your tongue. This is a breath called Sitali. If that's not possible, if your tongue will not cooperate, don't worry. There's nothing wrong with you. It's the genes you got. Instead, you're going to stick your tongue out like this. Just a soft, like you're panting. It's basically like a panting breath. If you are able to curl your tongue, you're going to breathe in and out through that straw-like shape. I'm going to invite you to do something slightly different. If you're doing this, you're creating that little indent so that the breath can come in through the center of the tongue. So we breathe in through the tongue, through the mouth. Yep, Jacqueline, you got it. Then close your mouth and breathe out through your nose, just as long as you breathed in. Because the calming side of the breath is the exhale, and that will help us move towards the calming nervous system. Feel the cool air, feel what's happening in your mouth. It's cooling for the brain too. I have done this practice when I didn't have water, when I was on a bike ride and I didn't have my water bottle with me, and I stopped, just stood to try to cool myself down. I did this breath and it worked. It's called Satali. Or you bring the air in over your tongue and it's cooling. Let's do two more. Long exhalations. And then keep your eyes closed if you're okay with your eyes closed, or just gaze down and just notice how you feel. Notice if that changed anything, not just a heating of the feeling the heat, but the nervous system. The calming, cooling side is where we're headed. And feel what it feels like in your head, behind your eyes. I'd say explore this practice on your own sometime and see what it does for you. You never have to take my word for it. So now let's come to this setup. First, true restorative pose, and it might take a little bit of adjusting your props to find exactly what comfort is for you. So if you're able to take your legs a little bit wider, you can come right up around the chair. But if that's not the case, you're going to be a little bit more restricted, so you can go as wide as you're able to go, and then bring some of the props towards you to rest on your lap. Either way, we're looking for a shape that resembles child's pose. You can have your hands up here. I like to tuck them in underneath. We're going to be here for at least 5 minutes, so it's worth fussing a little bit to get the pose the way you want it. We have lots of props. I asked you to get more than you need so that you'll have more things to pull from. If you have a bolster here, a block and a bolster here will work too. Now I can go a little bit wider, so I can come a little bit closer. I can still bring these pillows right up to my belly and then come forward. And then position your hands where they feel that they'll be able to stay quiet. You always have my permission to change your pose at any time or come out of it. Give yourself that same permission. If you are not comfortable, it won't be serving you. So now we have the front of the body supported. With the front of the body, with this little bit of compression, the rib cage can't move as well at the front. So direct your breath for the first 5 to 10 breaths. Direct your breath back into your back ribs, back here. As if my hands were right here on your back and you're pushing into them to breathe. So we're expanding the breath, deepening it. Widening through the back ribs, 5 to 10 breaths, allowing the exhales to be the same length as the inhales. After your 5 to 10 breaths, when your body, mind, and heart say, okay, it's okay to rest now, then rest. Do you need to adjust where your feet are? Do you want to stretch your legs out? What does that feel like? You know, there's so many ways to find comfort. What do you need here? Let your pelvis be heavy. Let your body breathe as it wants to. We're now moving into the poses that ask only for you to be present and comfortable. Body rests, mind rests. You live in your experience of being completely held and supported. And just for the next hour, or what's left of it, you don't have a care or a concern or a worry. All that matters is that you are supported and you are loved. If you have your head on one side, you can play with what it might feel like to turn it to the other side. If it doesn't serve your neck, then go back to the first side. It's all about comfort. Are your shoulders relaxing? Are your hips heavy? Hear the sound of my voice. And with so much caring and tenderness, begin to lift yourself up. Then adjust your chair so you can get your legs over to the right. And you'll adjust your seat that you're on, turn it so that you're a bit of on a diagonal line. So I was here. Now I'm turning it about a quarter turn to the right. Still close to your other setup because now we're going into the rotation. Both legs are this way. Then I rotate my rib cage towards the left. You can adjust again, lifting the pillows up and bringing them closer to you, and then laying down. Once you have laid down, take a few breaths and see if there's anything you need to change. This is a rotation for the spine, so depending on how far away, how turned out your legs are, it's going to be a bigger rotation. So you can cozy up closer, and it's less of a rotation. We're moving towards the least amount of sensation until it just disappears. Yeah. Change your leg position. That looks good. Great options. I'm not there to fuss and bring you extra props, so you're doing a fantastic job figuring it out yourselves. Comfort. Rotations, there's always going to be a little bit of a sensation, especially at the beginning of the pose. But then the idea is that that goes away. If you have any feeling of compression, particularly on your left side, you could always take a blanket and just tuck it in here, rolled up blanket to lift up and over. Allow your body to get used to this new shape. I'm focusing on forward bends today in the practice because, as a rule, they tend to be more cooling for the nervous system in general. So even in the advanced practice that we're going to do tomorrow, it's going to be moving towards some of the deeper, longer held, perhaps, forward bends that bring a cooling to the system, a cooling to the brain. It's hard to think straight when the brain is heated. Always know you can come out of the pose and change it at any time. We'll be here for another couple of minutes. I dive inside a reservoir of darkness and find my luminous heart pulsing like a star. Illusions divide, take sides, tell me I will always dwell in light or shadow. Truth unifies, casts aside barriers, frees me from polarities. When I slip beneath the surface, there is only one energy flowing from the vastness into form. It manifests as opposites, masquerades in such a convincing way that I forget from day to day that there is just a single source. Seeing past truth's masks, I rest at last in wholeness. Before we transition to the second side, begin to support yourself, pressing into your hands wherever you find leverage to lift yourself up. And we'll keep the chair right where it is, but walk your sit bones forward towards the front. You can adjust the pillows. Then lean back, find the back of the chair, roughly around where your shoulder blades are. Interlace your hands, bring them up and over behind your neck and the base of the skull, and lean back. So we go into a pose in between the forward bends, just to open up through the front of the body a little bit. If you have the space and want to walk your feet out, your legs out long, you can do that. We won't stay here long, just about 5 or 10 breaths. Let the whole front of the body expand and open with breath. I say 5 to 10 so that you know there is room for you to truly listen to what you need. Being less, being more, and the just right amount. And when you're ready to come back, reverse your steps, walk your feet back in, bring your hands down, and then turn your chair so it faces the other way. So now your legs are over to the left. Bring your props towards you, and you rotate from the rib cage up. So above your waist, you start to turn, and then you come forward. And again, put your head wherever it feels comfortable. If you want to turn away, if it's different than the first side or same, it doesn't really matter. I want you to feel the comfort. It's painful to turn your head one direction, then turn it the way it doesn't feel painful. The whole front body needs to be supported here. So you need to have enough props that that's what's happening. And then once you find comfort, the breath does the rest of the work, and you stay present with the experience you're having in your body. Adjust whatever you need to adjust for this to be comfortable on the second side. Sherry, if you want to just go right down on the floor, if it's easier, because you know that pose. And you've got the props to do it. Back of the body expands. Front of the body stays quiet. Front of the body reacts to life. It shortens and it pulls in. It tightens. It prepares you to do something, to act, to run, to fight. Now the front of the body is supported. It doesn't have to engage. It can rest. It can soften. It is being protected. It does not have to protect. Support yourself how you need to support in order to lift up. We'll take a moment to bring the chair back into the center and one more time into your child's pose to see, now that you moved one direction then the other, what does it feel like to come back into this forward fold? If you have the space and the inclination, you can always lift your feet up and stretch your legs out like this. And bring my props closer to me. And then come forward. If it doesn't feel great in your legs, your knees to do this, you can bend them again. Maybe stretch them out a little bit further. You can keep your feet flat on the floor. And if you really want to go for comfort, you can roll up something and put them underneath your feet for your feet to rest on. I'm feeling cooler already. And as you rest once again with the front body supported, the back body can expand. The nervous system can rest. And imagine your lungs at the back of the body, resting just inside your rib cage. And every time you breathe in, your ribs move. And imagine on the outside, attached to your body, a beautiful pair of butterfly wings. The butterflies will soon be here. So imagine your wings expanding and spreading on your inhale, and then softening to wherever they want to soften on the exhale. You can visualize your wings however you want to visualize them. Colors, shapes, patterns, size. The way the light hits them. We'll be here one more minute. Your breath can be more expansive. This is a transition pose. It means we're not staying in it long. Be with the experience of your wings just for the next few breaths. And then once again, find how you can support yourself to come up out of the pose with ease. Sitting is the next step. And then slowly making your way back up to stand, because now we're going to take one of the chairs away. You can leave one chair. This chair I'm sitting on, I'm going to move way to the back. Take the back feet right off. And I'm going to take all of these props off this chair. You're going to need your two towels. Put them aside, the two towels that are the same size. And this chair we're taking away. So if you've got blocks and a bolster, you can do this pose that way. If you don't, this is why I'm using these things, because I want to try to make as much of a ramp as we can. So I have one pillow there, one throw pillow, then two pillows. So it's on an angle. I think this is Doug's favorite pose. And then I've got another pillow there. Then my bath towels, mine aren't huge. They're just, you know, typical bath towel size. So I'm opening them up to this shape. Then I'm going to fold them in half. And then tuck one end under just a little bit. So it's thicker here and narrower here, and that goes on one side. That's going to be a little ramp for one leg. And then we do the same on the other side. So this folds in half. Then the top part tucks under. And we want to look to see, are they the same size? Then you can watch me and continue to get set up afterwards, but watch me so some can get into the pose. You're going to find, check it out first and see, is that going to work? Do you feel supported? If not, if you're feeling like you're more of a back bend, you need to go higher with your head, so more support underneath your head. Once you figure that out, then these little ramps are going to come up. I'm going to come right underneath the back of my thigh and support under the knee. So you can roll this out to the degree you need it so that the back of the knee is supported and the leg goes down from there. So I've got some space. I'm not bringing them close together. I have them, my feet are about as, my heels are resting on just the edges of the mat. And then I come down. Almost lost my water bottle. More support for the head if you feel like you're arching. And then arms go out to the sides, palms can turn up, or you can rest your hands on your belly. This is the second to last pose. We'll be here for another 5 minutes, and then we'll be in Shavasana with the legs up on the chair. So it's a reclined, supported pose. Yeah, that looks great. This is where you could always bring in your little towel or a light scarf, or if you have an eye pillow, you can bring your eye pillow in. Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, so if you don't have enough to do the 2 ramps, you can do exactly what you're doing, Jacqueline. You can put something under both knees. I like the ramps because then it supports from the hip, the back of the hip joint out through the knee. But you know what, we got to do what we got to do. We got to use what we got. You can also do a Baddha Konasana shape, where you bring the soles of your feet together and angle those ramps under your legs. You know, it's up to you. It's hard to see what everyone's doing. Again, it's a pose of comfort, like all of the rest. The wisdom voice says, be still. Take time for what is truly important. I imagine myself diving, leading behind an untidy trail of what's not needed. I cast aside worry, which has never brought me anything even remotely useful. I let go of doubt and all of the countless ways I tie myself in knots. Scattered behind me like discarded clothes are old beliefs, selfish agendas, my fixed and false identities, attachment to particular results. Weightless and miraculously free, my eyes shine with wonder and enthusiasm. And the wisdom voice says, there's always time enough for joy. Let your lips part and your jaw unhinge, and your eyes sink back away from your closed eyelids. And trust in the practice. Be fully and completely present in your joy. If you are completely held and feel so incredibly supported here, you can stay here. If you are thinking your nervous system, your mind needs a change, you can make your way, bending your legs and roll to your side. Stay on your side for a couple of breaths. If you're comfortable, I would say stay where you are. There's no need to fit one more pose in just because I'm offering it. Comfort is the thing here. From the side, if you're getting up, you come up from the side, bring your other chair in. You can move almost everything of your support out of the way, except for whatever you want for a pillow. Get close to the chair. Legs go up on the chair. If you play your cards right, those little ramps that were underneath your legs can now be ramps for your arms supports. Hear the sound of my voice. And decide if you want to stay where you are for a little while, or whether you want to move and come to sit. And take your time. You can by all means stay exactly where you are. And bring your awareness to the center of your chest. You're coming to sit. You're going to sit someplace that serves all this incredible work that you did today. So serves the body. The spine needs to align the way it needs to in this, it's called axial extension, because that's how we breathe the best. We can breathe well. Every part of you is going to be served. Mind, body, and heart. So wherever you happen to be, either lying down, focus awareness on your chest. You can bring your hands to the center of your chest, or you can bring your hands together in prayer. Let the subtle flow of energy lead. Be the freedom and magnificence you believed you could only be achieved through years of struggle. Allow the movement and the moment to unfold to you petal by petal until you're a wide open, the flower of truth in unself-conscious full bloom. Thank you so much for coming today. I hope you feel good. I do. Namaste.